Hello everyone, Nataru88 here, bringing you another mech build of mine. And this one is called the Land Strider. Now, the Land Strider is a different concept of my mechs. It's a different concept, which means it's quite different from all my other mechs. All my other mechs are humanoid style mechs, with legs, arms, body, head. But this mech is different. This mech consists of a torso and legs. And this is actually my first ever mech that is minifigure scale. So actually there's a minifigure inside that we're gonna take a look at later on. Now this mech is meant to walk on land. It's meant to walk on rough terrain and be able to run and basically stride across the land. So that's why it's called the Land Strider. So it's pretty simple, and taking a look at it from different angles, its armaments are quite simple, but they're enough for this thing. Besides, this thing is meant to act in a group. Like, this thing won't attack on its own. It will be with a group of other Land Striders. It's meant to be basically a mass production unit. In terms of armaments, it has this machine gun right at the bottom of the torso. Taking a closer look at it, focusing around it. The machine gun it's a dual barrel machine gun. It can rotate around as well as move up and down individually. So the guns can point individually. As for the other armaments, it has two cannons on the sides of the hips that can move up and down. Yeah, and that's basically pretty much it for armament. It might not be heavy enough for being a single mech, but when there's a giant group of these things, you ain't gonna be wanting to stay in their way. Especially if they make a full-scale barrage of their cannons. Now, in terms of articulation, the articulation that this thing has is pretty much just to put it in this pose. But we'll go through it. First of all, let's take a look at the minifigure inside. You have a hatch at the back that will open up, and you have a minifigure inside. And conveniently enough, I'm not so sure that you could see it clearly, Iron Man is inside. So, also taking a look at it from the back, here clearly, it has these little boosters that help it run. So let's take a look at its articulation. Now the only pose that this thing could pull off is basically stand like this, or maybe act as if it's moving forwards or stepping forwards, like so. Just balancing it up. And yeah, that's basically it. The torso's a little up and fellow down. I mean, you could move around the machine gun a bit and whatnot, but that's basically it. Now it could also maybe pull off such a pose, like, for example, acting as if it's running, I guess. Yeah, but it has a little bit of trouble balancing. So, let's get on to the articulation. First of all, these hip guards can move up and down and rotate around like so. The legs can move forwards and backwards, as well as rotate outwards. There is no any splits. This thing doesn't have outwards moving hips. The cannons can move up and down, as previously mentioned. This thing also has a knee, which can bend backwards, and forwards. The ankle can move up and down and also rotate around on its own, and the previously mentioned articulation at the machine guns. So you'd think that that's basically it for this thing, but there's still a little bit more of a gimmick to this thing. You see, since this is a unit that's intended to be traveling in a group, it needs to be transported in a giant vehicle. Now, I haven't built this giant vehicle yet, but to be able to be transported, these mechs actually have a collapsing style gimmick that makes them become much smaller. And that basically happens by moving up the hip guards. It's kind of a transformation, but a quite simple one at that. You move up the hip guards and get them out of the way. You take the machine gun and move it inwards totally. And then you move the legs forwards until they get stuck. Bend the knees backwards and bend the ankles forwards. Then you reposition the cannons. Get the hip guards on the side to their position and fill around a bit with the ankles, and there you go. You pretty much got the transformation. Now, it's not really a transformation, more like a, as I said, collapsing gimmick, so that it will be transported easier. And there it is. So overall, this thing is quite simple, and basically would be looking good at your shelf, like so. Just displaying it basically and simply. Doesn't have any sort of fancy articulation or any sort of fancy weapons, but it does do the job perfectly of being a disposable, easy mass production unit. Now, on that, we're gonna wrap it up for this mech build episode. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to comment down below. As always, this has been Natar88, and I'll see you guys in the next time. Goodbye.